All right, here we go. All right, man, let's do this.
All right, play test. Number one, Space Age of Man. Okay, you're waking abruptly as the klaxons are ringing in your ears, and the red light is is blaring from the corner of your eyes and your peripheral in your room. And small little room, solitary by yourself, small bunk. Um, it's Spartan. The walls and floors metallic. Um, you are laying on the bed, but almost hovering above it in a way. But you're used to this sleeping. There's not much gravity per se, but you're thankful there is some. As you've been assigned to the moon base colony, and you know your job, you know what this means. In this grade, you recognize as the marquee goes across the upper corner of the room that this is solar flare warning.
Hmm.
This entails that job wise that you have to be responsible for uh, hordoning off um, the personnel on the moon base to a specific area that has more shielding and is
Evacuation. So
further
I've
away.
got to lead the evacuation. Probably. Yeah, right. Right.
Yes.
Okay. So again, I'm awakened. I snap awake to this clanging, and I slide on my boots. I am gonna stay for the most part in my basic sleeping attire, but I will slip on the jacket of the security office, so people will recognize that I am security. So I might be wearing light bedclothes and slip on my boots, grab my sidearm, and bang the panel door to open with a punch of the button and step into the corridor. I will go to my designated area as fast as possible, where I'm supposed to be to help guide people to the appropriate exits, so to speak. As I
Okay.
do, I will be calling out the solar flare warning that is required of me from the handbook, from the security handbook in which we were taught to do this. We've trained this, we've done this before, so it's standard operating procedure as far as I'm concerned. I don't have any reason to suspect that anything is beyond this is normal.
Okay. There's tight quarters as usual in the hallways, and you see doors opening similar to yours, and people are struggling out. Some of them sleeping because the time periods, you know, that people are arrayed in the areas that you're at. Everybody kind of coordinates when
Mm-hmm.
shifts are and when to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
so they're on the same shift. But everybody's kind of woken up abruptly,
Mm-hmm.
as can happen from time to time. And there is Joe comes out from down the hallway and looks up at you and nods,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see he's trying to pull on his suspenders over his, and then he pulls himself out and does a little step out into the center of the hall,
Mm-hmm.
and he looks at you like which way. You can tell he's
Right.
still a little bit groggy from sleep. It's a long panel. You know that to the left, he'd have to follow you to
Mm-hmm.
go toward that area, and there's other doors where you look.
Mm-hmm.
If you look to the left, that people you hear opening up, sliding open, and people are
Yeah.
a little bit
As I
disarrayed.
move through them, weaving in and out of people, I will stop and I will actually place hands on people and turn them and also remind them that we're headed to corridor B16 or
Okay.
whatever the appropriate place is
Yeah,
for shielding.
that's fine.
Yeah, I'll
That's
warn them
fine.
that this is a a class 2 solar flare, and just push them along and turn, head back, and make sure people are falling in line. I will responsible for my corridor. I'll make till everybody's, and I'll attempt to count heads And if I'm missing a head or two, right, I will try to go back through the corridors and peek into their rooms to see who might not be accounted for.
Okay. Let's do a roll in profession. See.
All right. This would be my normal security profession, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I feel confident that I've counted all of the appropriate heads. I don't think anyone's missing from the head count of my responsibility for this section, right?
Okay. Everybody's filing out like this is almost a normal occurrence for them. You know, you've just been recently stationed here, so obviously you're a little bit prepped up, but it seems like that they're kind of used to this time to time, which stands to reason.
Yeah.
So you're not getting any kind of buck from that from anyone. The only thing is some people were a little bit slow to rouse as far as like getting their things together, so they're kind of in part disarray as you usher them down, and everybody's B-16 there in the back, and these are aligned almost like freight cars, like they're put together in certain ways. This colony has only been in existence, I'd say 5 years or so, 5 or 6 years that you know, and you've just been recently put up there. But there's enough of them and there's teams of scientists here. There's not a lot of civilian personnel yet, even though there are, you know, you're aware, you know, you're approached from Earth that there are freighters and whatnot, and even commercial freighters that kind of do site touring of the local area of the solar system, you know, around Earth.
Sure.
You're setting up, and basically it's an early established area, but there are various other countries that are positioned on the moon, and some of them not necessarily for the territorial, debate as far as ownership of certain areas, and that's why you're there, not only for the protection of that, but any kind of hostile thing.
Sure.
Just a little information of why you're there.
Right.
But everybody's assembling. There seems to be a flickering of light as you are nearing B-17, and you're pretty much, as far as I understand, making sure everybody's there.
Yeah, I'll move forward a little bit, keep people moving, then I'll make sure I backtrack like I'm hurting. You know, I'll go backtrack to make sure people keep moving, right? Reminding them that we have to move. I might even know the average duration of time we have to get to these safe spots, right? I mean, the average solar flare, I probably have been trained, it might be 42 seconds or whatever before we suffer, you know, a radiation hit or et cetera, whatever. But the point is, I will be pushing them and moving them along, keeping head count, right?
Yeah, and they get inside. They get inside, and the last one steps in, and then
right,
shut the door for the shielding. This is in y'all's area colony.
Right.
Everybody has designated areas to go to.
Right.
Here's B-16, and it shuts, and then there's a flickering of the light and the klaxons, and then the klaxons stop and die down, and the light goes off.
Right.
Everything's blacked out.
Yeah.
You hear murmuring of voices, and you hear some decompression, almost as a word, within the walls.
Okay.
There seems to be several people, Joe in particular, who's been kind of, you know, say more of your next door neighbor.
Right.
We greet each other in and out of shifts, and he is one of the scientists that works on more of the mechanical aspects of the ship.
Okay.
You hear him do a little bit of groan, and he says, "It seems like we've been hit with the solar flare already. It came a little bit before I would think. Don't be concerned, everyone. Power should resume shortly."
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have a long day, Joe. It looks like you're gonna be working on some stuff.
It seems so. It seems so. Yeah, I'm glad I at least got a couple of hours of sleep. Damn it, he gets sullen a little bit, whatever. But yeah, you hear his voice. The darkness is there. It seems like everybody's everybody kind of well suited to be obviously kind of alone and solo. And you see this echoed throughout, even though everybody around each other. There's not much conversation at all.
Right.
It's just a wait and see.
Sure.
And then finally, after 2 or 3 minutes, the lights power back on without the klaxons.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So in your training, whatever, you would look for designators whenever that was safe to leave, which is about a minute more before you're able to take everybody out and let them go.
Right. I'll stand over the door controls until I get those designated indicator lights, and then I will open the doors and tell everybody they can return to their domiciles, get back to sleep, and I will, as they pass, I'll give them a smile, and I will tell them, "Good work. This is everybody safely in and in orderly fashion." And I'll give everybody a smile and a wink as they they've made my life easy this morning, right?
Good. They halfway just smile at you, feel like you're kind of being superfluous with the excess talk. You can tell that they're kind of just let me get back to bed. The kind of thing. The only one is when Joe hit this, the other way. You know where he's going to. To start to work. You see something was awry there. The alert was late in preparation. So he's heading off. He just gives you that knowing look, as y'all had spoken before.
And I will turn to the door control panel. As I'm not wearing, again, I was in my bed clothes. I just threw on my security jacket and grabbed my sidearm. So I don't have a wristwatch, but I'll look at the door panel to see what the time is, if the time is presented there on the door panel. I want to know, can I go back to bed? What hour is it?
Oh, yeah. No, you can. Okay. You got at least 2 or 3 hours before you would have to be.
So I'll sigh, knowing, fortunately I can climb back in bed for a few hours, and I will work my way back to my domicile. And again, I won't even take off the jacket. I'll lay the sidearm on the end table and just face down into the bed and pull the sheets over me, and again try to get back to sleep in my uniform and all. Right.
Okay. Well, you do so, and so you drift off. Now, the alarm that you've set for work is going off, and it reawakens you. So you feel sufficiently. You're kind of used to soldiery life and security and whatnot.
And I'll get up, look around, check the time. I will kick my boots off, slide on my uniform pants, put my boots back on, get up, I'll secure my belt, I'll secure my holster, put my sidearm in its holster, and then I'll go over to the wash basin and quickly, just rinse my face. I wear, I'm fairly clean shaven, but I have a little growth. I don't shave regularly, but I'll shave enough to keep a full beard. And I'll quickly rinse my mouth out with some, a poor man's oral care is I'll just kind of swish some mouthwash around in my mouth and spit it in the sink, not really brushing my teeth. And then I'll head to the breakfast area, as I don't normally grocery shop or keep something in my domicile. So I would head to where the most obvious cafe area here in this section of the base before I check in with my duty roster to see what I'm supposed to be doing today.
Everything's you clank utensils and cutlery and along with everybody else in the whoever is there inside of the little cafeteria that everybody's drawing from. There seems that everybody seems a little bit like dour in their there's a few individuals that are more so jovial in stark contrast to the overall plodding and dreariness of being stuck in.
Yeah, and I'll watch those
tin
particular
cans.
people with a bit of disdain, as I'm one of the dour people. As I was woken in the middle of the night, had to do my job, and I wonder where these people draw their infinitely positive attitudes. And I might even attempt to eavesdrop to see what they're talking about. What is it in their life that's so much better than mine? It's a legitimate curiosity that these people must have something better, because they can't just be happier without something better.
I mean, if you want to roll, we could ascertain what.
Okay. Yeah, that would be, well, it depends. If we're doing this from a novice psychologist, it would be a failure. If I'm doing it as a novice observation.
Yeah, security. I'm sure you're aware of.
Sure. Sure.
of
But nothing.
what.
Yeah, right. Okay. So then, yes, I would be successful if I'm still using my powers of observation as a security specialist. Sure. Yes. Then I'm successful.
Yeah, I mean, it's successful. You might, even if you was from a psychological point of view, as a novice psychological point of view, but as security, you don't see anything really wrong with him. You see people that are almost young men that are trying to keep jovial defense mechanism to keep the depression at bay or whatever.
Sure.
But
so it's fake. I'm basically able to figure out, these guys are frauds. They're not. They're putting on a facade. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. For probably like just the mental resolution.
So they're not so jovial. Yeah, it's a pathetic waste of energy, I say to myself, as I look toward the dour people and say, at least these people aren't lying to themselves.
Yeah, and they're in line with your perspective. They eat slowly. Well, anyway, the clock. You need to get to your commander,
right?
Bennett, who's reported for duty. So standardized duty.
Okay. My boss. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will quickly eat. My basic every morning is oatmeal for me. As a matter of fact, I haven't varied my breakfast in years. Oatmeal is always my staple to start with synthetic milk. But oatmeal is what I normally start the day with. And I'm up, away, wipe my mouth with my bare hand. If I find oatmeal in the crevices of my mouth, etc., I will just flick that oatmeal away, wipe it on my uniform, etc. I'm not real concerned about my appearances. And I will head toward the my boss's location.
Yeah, it's the main security work.
Main security, yep.
Area, and it is on the outlier of the community. Mm-hmm. So when you enter it, you see Bennett standing and looking out the porthole, as it were, off in the distance, and he's referring to Tyler over to the side. You hear crackling and some information and intercom coming over the Tyler's communication set. And what's their situation now? Give me an update now. And he's talking to Tyler or whatever, and he looks over his shoulder, Jones. Mm-hmm. And you out as he's looking out, you probably perceive, looking at direction, that there's something on the
right. I track his eyesight and see that he's looking at something.
Yeah, and then there's a crack come over, and then you hear what appears to be Russian coming over the intercom.
Gotcha.
Tyler's intercom, and he's trying to understand. I don't know what the hell they're saying. He's exasperated, obviously, and you hear talking and almost hectically. What you can see beyond is somewhat off in the distance is it looks like a lunar vehicle, that isn't moving, but it does look like there's two individuals in it, and it isn't of the United States design.
Okay.
So 2+2, but it looks like, and Bennett looks at you and he says, "It seems like our comrades are in distress. Something happens, but they're a little too close for comfort. They're obviously out of their
Gotcha.
Out of their designated areas, out of their territory.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to go."
With a sly grin, I say, "Well, maybe they're trying to defect, sir."
That
maybe they think the grass is greener over here.
Which obviously we know it is. He kind of grabs his shoulder and pushes back. But we still need to be. We need to take care of this, as you know. Get Simmons and don your vac suits and go and see what's going on. But be careful and
Okay.
you know what to do.
Yep. So I'll
report back. Make sure your comms are on.
Yeah. All right. So I'll head to the locker room and I'll ask the first person I pass, "Have you seen Simmons? Where's Simmons?" As I head to the locker room, looking for Simmons. And then I will stop at an intercom and hold down an intercom and announce over the PA system, "Simmons, this is Jones. Meet me in hangar 4, vac suit. We've got trespassers." And so I'll just over the intercom PA system let Simmons know where I'm at, what I'm doing. And I'll go to the hangar 2, or not hangar 2. What do you call it? Evac station 2, wherever we could take to the lunar surface. But I'll suit up in my vac suit.
Yeah, and you have a similar vehicle
Right.
to transport across the moon. Now
Right.
you're used to, I should say, everybody that you see walking here, everybody's kind of used to basically handholds,
Sure.
helping pull themselves and to steady themselves
Right.
as they, because it's still
Right.
low grav
Right.
in this area. So you got to be conscious of that, especially with the vac suit as far
Mm-hmm.
as tears and everything else. It's sufficiently resistant, but you're a little bit after your call, about 30 seconds later, then you go on there.
You broke up.
Copy that.
You broke up there. What did you say?
Yeah, it's about a minute or two after, about 30 seconds after you release your finger off the intercom, it pops on, and then Simmons is like, "Copy that. We'll meet you there.
Okay.
I got word." And then so where there's an area that you go, this vacuum ready, that you go and suit up,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's someone that works the terminal to
Right.
shut things off. But also inside of that docking area, or right outside of that docking area, they've got basically a corral, an area where you can get into your lunar vehicle
Right.
and drive out. So
And I'll always, at this point, I won't wait for Simmons. I suit up, and I'll tell the operator who operates the door, etc., go ahead and tell Simmons I'm headed to the lunar module, and I'll nod for him to open the door for me. In other words, I'm not one to wait around for Simmons. I'm gonna keep moving forward, mission oriented, and of course I'll head outside as soon as he secures the area and lets me through the portal.
yeah, or the guy waits for a second. He says, "Hold on," goes. So Simmons is right behind him. So he sufficiently meets you there in time, and
Okay.
both suiting up
Okay.
and helping each other and latch on,
Right.
and checking each other.
Okay.
VSE, and then he will decompress. The door slides
Right.
open,
Right.
and then you witness the vastness of the moon landscape,
Right.
like in full effect as you
Right.
breach and go out into the lunar landscape.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and Simmons, he's just as far as the relation to you, he's newfound. I would say that you guys necessarily haven't had enough contact to be warmed up. But
No,
it
I don't
seems
like him. I
professional-
don't like him. I don't like most people. I have to work with people, but I don't like him. I can tell you
Yeah,
that right now.
you have to work, but
yeah,
you can,
I have
you
to.
can
I was
ascertain
told by
he's
Bennett
professional.
that I had to work with him, so I'll work with him. I'll quickly brief him that we're looking at. Looks like a couple of Russians have trespassed, and I will point in the general direction that
Okay.
they were last seen. They were stopped. I'll tell him. I'll brief him as we approach the vehicle. The vehicle.
Yeah.
The lunar lander, the lunar vehicle. Yeah.
Now he's a little bit. You can tell he's a little. He's professional in the fact that when he was helping adjust you, and
Oh, I lost your sound again.
okay, you can tell he's professional with the way that he was handling himself and then checking you over, and you feel secure that your suit is secure, that him is, that he knows what he's doing. So
Right.
I would think that just from that exchange, that there might be a little bit of a trust you could afford him, but he does have this particular display of attitude that you know that he's more so dour like you, but you can always tell he's prejudiced.
Against Russians? Me? You froze. You froze up.
Here's at you. That's just me. You can tell that he's more prejudiced toward the Russians,
Okay.
right? The nationals. When you mention that, because he sneers
Right.
and kind of rolls his eyes or
Right.
whatever.
And okay.
So
Simmons.
that's when he grabs the weapon
Right.
and latches it on solidly.
And
or
I'll
whatever
kind
it
of
is.
smile, and then I'll say to him, Simmons, prepare yourself. These guys might be defectors. They may be bunking with you in the next few hours. And I'll turn my helmet so he can't see my face as I crack up, as I needle him just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, he grunts or whatever. He's in no mood for it. You don't know if he got any sleep last night. It seems so.
Mm-hmm.
But he steps out and kind of bounds across the lunar soil with you,
Right.
and he's going toward the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
You refer to that or whatever, but that's
Yeah. No, I'll let him drive. And I remind him, conceivably, they're trapped out here because the solar. They may have been caught in the solar flare. Right. So
Okay.
I'm just making small talk with Simmons to kind of goad him into a more verbal.
more verbal interaction.
Yeah.
What's with all
Again,
the
I
chatter
don't like
comes
him,
over
so
your-
I'm kind of needling him. Right.
Yeah, what's with all the chatter? It comes over the thing because they got the Vox set up to where everything you're saying is being piped directly to Tyler,
Yeah.
but that's Bennett's voice.
Right.
Yeah, just be
I'm
ready.
trying to wake Simmons up, sir. He woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning.
He better be awake. He's got to drive over there.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, Simmons kind of grunts a little bit, looks at you,
Mm-hmm.
and rolls his eyes. You got under his skin a little bit as he gets the vehicle in motion. It's a lurking motion,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, there's natural handholds where you have to
Oh yeah. Yeah.
bound yourself out of the seat as the car kind of careens and bounce on its floaty tires in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see non-movement from the individuals as you're drawing closer? And the Tyler comes over the intercom in your headset. Both of you know it's on because you can hear it's still open. You can hear a little bit of breathing from Simmons, as almost like his heart is breathing is getting a little bit more intensified. You control the closer you get, it seems, to the location. We've stopped receiving any kind of over communication with the rescues.
Okay.
You'll be on your guard.
Yeah.
If your assumption that they're trying to defend, maybe I can concede that Bennett leads in there, interrupts Tyler in saying that, but don't we don't want an international incident, but don't give them any kind of leeway to take advantage of the situation. I don't know what they're here for. It's concerning. Find out.
Right. Okay.
All right, we'll be on standby.
All right.
We'll be listening.
So my security training kicks in as we approach, and I start to pick up more details. I will be looking out for any strangeness. Are they armed? I'll be looking to see if they're out of the vehicle. I'll be trying to assess the situation for secure purposes, and I'll have my handgun at this point out, laying on, not laying, but in hand, but on my lap as we approach, and I'll tell Simmons to go slow as we approach.
Okay, he's really compliant about that. You see his breathing steady and even as he approaches, and he does so in kind of an arc, wielding around, almost, through training too, that he's just trying to make sure that there's not, that the area itself is secured secondarily. You're trained in on what you're trained in on.
Right. And I'm looking at the best I can. I'm going to try to see the tracks left from their lunar lander, if it's a single set of tracks, if there are other tracks in the lunar sand, like somebody got out of this vehicle, and right. So I'm looking for evidence that there might have been other lunar landers with them, or there might have been people might have abandoned, or other people might have gotten out of their lunar lander. So I'm looking for evidence that right. Yeah,
and this is just for access to extra evidence. Just roll your die and let's see how.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now you don't see any immediately, like I said, Simmons driving around. You can tell the behind lunar rocks or any, for any potential. The tracks itself you immediately notice are coming from the direction that you believe where the Russian moon base is, but it is far away from it, right? There is a ravine nearby that it's skirted around. Okay. Right, it seems like a fissure in the ground where there's the depth, and y'all know this, of course, and you had been briefed on it when you landed, that it is there, but they've skirted around it, so it's almost a natural borderland of area between the two, the two territories, but they've gone around it. The two men themselves seem slumped and laid over to the side. You do see that they are equipped with weapons and similar weapons to theirs, but they're one of them is in hand in the passenger seat and is splayed over and laid to the side, but the guy's head is lolled over. Now they've got their visors on that is reflective, so you can't see his face. Right. Both of them. To protect from the sun or whatever. Okay. Now you do know that what you've entered is, or where the lunar flare went off, is more so intensified in this area. And it's almost psychologically probably even felt the closer you got to it, that oppression of where it's more radiation, so to speak, right? So that's what you're kind of feeling. But it looks like the two in the vehicle specifically are
not
passed out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell Tyler to make sure our comms, that he can hear me through our, because Tyler's obviously communicating with them, so he can then patch us to be able to communicate with them. Oh yeah, what do you see? Yeah. You broke up for a second there, but but Tyler's communicating is what I'm saying. And that's when it leans over. You tell he's leaning over. Tyler's mic is. Right. What do you see? Give me a report now. And it's crackling and breaking up on your end now in your headset. Yeah. Right? There are two individuals in a lunar lander. They appear to be immobile. They are armed. I am disembarking, and I'll tell Simmons stop. As I say that, I'll tell Simmons to slow and stop, and I'll disembark. And I'll tell Simmons, keep cover on me as I will approach them. And I'll approach them a little faster than you might think. I'll do a little, double tap, skip, kind of float. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to creep along to him. I'm going to kind of get over there as quick as I can. But my pistol will be trained on both of them, and I will speak through the intercom in case it says Tyler's still open comms with them. This is Simon Jones of the United States Moon Base 6 Civil Defense Unit. Lay your weapons down or put your weapons away as I approach. Okay, and there's ragged breathing on it, shallow, ragged breathing that you could see on a deeper level. So I'm assuming that everybody's kind of on like their edge of the seat waiting for the pin to drop. Right. So you can perceive that. Right. And it seems like
they're alive, but
Okay.
not conscious.
Okay.
And you hear whenever you got the snarky little reply of like Simmons, wait here, and he goes, "There's your defectors," and it kind of crackles a little bit, not so much as from the main base, but whenever Tyler is talking to you, what is good feedback? What
Right.
it's like that. It's very broken up.
Right. And I'll just say I'll stop I'll try to land and stop moving, thinking that'll improve the communication. And
Yeah.
I'll say to them, hold, investigating. Right. So I'll just tell them, I'm shut up. I'm investigating. Right.
Before it's really kind of spotty.
Right. Okay. Kind of like this Discord game session.
Right.
Because you keep cracking,
but they're
you
also
keep crackling up on me.
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah,
This is very much like Run a Moon Base, man. I feel very in character man. This
there
is
you go.
Right. You don't have to
breaking
actually
the
say
fourth
it.
wall.
It's happening, right?
Break that fourth wall. Yeah. But yeah, that is what's occurring. So
Okay.
you can tell they're pensively waiting for some kind
Right.
of a thing, but it's died down a little bit.
Okay.
Tyler, you can hear. What do they got, Jones?
Simmons or
You need
Tyler?
some help? Simmons.
No, I'm Simmons. Stay where you
What do you
are.
see,
Just
Jones?
keep cover on me. I'm gonna try to approach the driver. So I will
In your
move.
peripheral, he kind of leans up or whatever. You can see him with his gun,
Right.
kind of doing an Overwatch.
I'm going to approach the driver, identifying whether he has a weapon in hand or a weapon available. As I approach,
There's one this slotted into a place where you keep the weapon inside.
but he's not
the
got
vehicle.
hands on it.
No, his hands are dropped down from the steering mechanism, the
Okay.
steering wheel, and he's just laid back with his head flopped
Okay,
aside.
and the passenger has a weapon in hand.
Yeah, but it was overturned, and he's still got it in hand. It doesn't look like it's
Okay.
halfway slid out the handbag.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the first
previously,
thing
yeah.
I'm going to do is approach the vehicle and secure those weapons. I'll pull out if I can. I'm going to reach in and pull his out, the driver's side, and I will reach across and secure the weapon while they're in this condition. And
Yeah,
I will
problem.
fling them away and watch them. I will
Go off into that crevasse.
Yeah, I will fling them off into this lower gravity and watch those things get far away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I will kind of tap with my pistol his shielding. Right. I'll knock on his door, so to speak, with the tip of my weapon.
Yeah.
Pop,
And
pop, pop. Right.
yeah, you can't hear nothing.
No,
but
right.
see
You
the-
can't hear anything, but
Yeah, you see it pop like that in his head jiggle, but it seems like he's totally
okay.
unconscious.
I will tell Simmons. I'm gonna holster my weapon, and I'm gonna tell Simmons, bring the lunar lander here, Simmons. I'm gonna take this guy out. We're gonna secure him to our lunar lander. So I will unbuckle him, and I will kind of lift him out and kind of walk him over as he pulls up the lander, and I'm gonna try to secure him in our lander.
Okay, all right.
And,
It takes a little bit doing, but
Sure, and I'll move around to the passenger side, and I will do the same, and then I will attempt to communicate with Bennett. I'm bringing in two men. They appear to be either sick or unresponsive. I have disarmed them. Be aware. Over, and then I will tell them. I will also relay this message to the gentleman who operates our hangar, the technician that was there that allowed us in and out, that I will be arriving with two. So we're gonna need more security as we arrive.
I think from your position inside of the porthole, they can probably see, because you saw two little dots out on the horizon.
Right.
But you could I think sufficiently ascertain that they can see a little bit of movement in what you're doing and try to infer from that. But because the communication is really broken up right now, especially you can't get through the hangar.
Right.
But the other, like Tyler's like, copy.
Right.
You know what I mean? You hear that word come through that
Right.
there seems to be some kind of semblance of
Sure.
understanding. Yeah, but they are cumbersome and unwieldy, not so much heavy as per se, but it's even like you got a backpack
Oh,
on.
sure, yeah.
If you take a knee in this environment,
Yeah.
you've got a training to learn to stand yourself back up.
Right, exactly.
So you both have to work, and it takes about 30 minutes
Secure them, yeah. Because I'll get
secure
them in
'em.
the back seats and buckle them in, and yeah.
Yeah, you do that, and then they're like, ragdolls sitting back
And
there.
but they haven't resisted, so they're clearly incapacitated enough that they're not resisting us.
Correct.
Yeah, all right.
Correct.
Okay.
So as you head back, it doesn't take that long to get back, and the closer you get, the more you tell that the natural background hum of the comms isn't interfering so much. It seems like a bit of a spike in interference due to probably radiation more so.
Right.
But that's been cleared up, and you hear finally Tyler go, we think we got, you're bringing them back, right? Well,
Yeah.
I'll
I'll keep briefing until they. So I'll just keep reciting the same briefing until they acknowledge. So
Yeah, and he
I'll
does.
almost repeating it like so we're bringing back
Like
both
Mayday.
men, right? And I'll just keep repeating it until somebody finally says, "Over, copy, we got you." Yeah.
Yeah, and Tyler's like, okay, we got you. And then Bennett leans in and says, okay, I've sent and bring them in.
Okay.
Be it
Right.
just we'll know when you arrive.
Right.
So when you do, and it pulls up, it's pretty seamless. The door opens up. There's a couple of other individuals that step out that had been inside the airlock.
Right.
And they step out. There's two more individuals that I don't believe you've met yet fully. Or Chris Ray nodded whenever you did the lunar lander and came over and was briefed with your coworkers, but you don't know them. You can't withdraw their names right now.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Anyway, they help you lift them off the platform
Right.
and bring them in. Now, you have to go in there in two sections because isn't that a big airlock, right? So at least that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell Simmons that take me back over to the other lander. I'm gonna bring their Russian lander in. So
Okay,
I
that's
also report. I'm gonna go recover their vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see how. Okay, you see a little pause over the intercom, and it's almost like you feel like you obviously have to repeat it.
Yeah.
And then the channel opens up, and then Bennett leans in. He says, belay that, Jones. We need to see what we're dealing with here. There may be certain. I think we may have a situation going on here. Get in as soon as you.
Hold on, you
I'll
froze
debrief
again.
you when you get in.
You froze again.
It just said yeah. I saw it on my end. But he says, belay that. We may have a situation here. Come inside. We need. I'll debrief you what's going on.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Affirmative. And I'll look at Simmons as we disrobe inside. I'll wait until we can see each other and make eye contact, and I'll say, what other problem would there be, Simmons, for us to not recover their vehicle? I would think once they're on their feet, we're sending them home. What do you say?
I don't know. I'm just here to do what they tell me until I can get off this rock. All right. Seems like he's been here for a while, I guess.
Right. Okay. And then I'll check in with Bennett for debrief.
Okay. Whenever you of course, depressurize and get out of your suit and get back there, Bennett and Tyler, and also you see Joe is in there too, and Joe looks at you and kind of gives you the cursory nod as gather around. He's got this.
Now, is this surprising? Is Joe often in the security headquarters?
No, but
So this
he works.
this should be a little. This is out of place for Joe to be here.
It's out of place. I wouldn't say it's really. I mean, if he's wanting to, it may. I mean, obviously lend you some inclination to what this problem may be. If Joe, you know that he's from the mechanical aspect, and he's a little bit of a the scientist that deals with that, right? So anyway, But Joe has a schematic that's laid out on the center table, and Bennett's standing around, and what he kind of looks at you as you join in, right? So, like I said, it may raise your eyebrow, like what the hell is going on here, but
Yeah,
he lays it
I'll
out
certainly
whenever he
nod at
looks
Joe and acknowledge that he's there, but I won't say
Yeah,
anything informal to him or.
well, Joe finishes up what he was saying as far as on the schematics, and there's also a another blueprint of the surrounding territories of the moon. Like you can see the whole complex as there, and then there's certain markers on it, like longitudinal markers in a way to where there's something definitive about areas of a danger zone or where you go into, right? And you don't want to surpass. There's he gives his spiel, which basically entails that something has occurred in the underground piping out that way, and because he's drawn his lines that from the certain areas coming out from the main base, that there's been a blockade and a fissure at certain areas coming into. Now, you don't understand what all piping has to do with the outlier leading out from the area, but like this area. And that's when he says that there's been obviously a disturbance, a moonquake, a certain small moonquake that has kind of disrupted the internal structures and the foundation of the complex. But it originated, and he goes to the other side. So, of where the Russian base was primarily.
Okay.
Right? That's what seems to be the thing. But also with the solar flare that it came in, he's aligning that with the potential delay in the solar, alerting everybody, and that these guys, they speculate, and Bennett looks at you, it looks like our defectors were called in the line of the solar flare. It looks like that I need you to get to the medical and be tested for radiation, sickness, and poisoning.
Yeah.
Stat. So I'll let you know what we're going to do after that.
Okay.
So that's what he's
right.
recommending you do.
Yep.
Or require.
Yeah. So I'll say all right, and dismiss myself and head toward medical. Fumbling around in my coat for, iodine tablets that they might very often issue us, right, for radiation exposure, thinking, do I even have iodine tablets, right? I'm patting my pockets, etc.
I think you do. You're a competent man.
And I pull them out, and I look at them going, and I debate on whether I should take them or wait until, so I'll put them back, I'll secure them back in my coat, but thinking to myself, most likely that's what they're going to do is make me take iodine tablets, but I don't know, and I head in, or they'll hit me with a greater technological achievement I have yet to experience.
Oh no! There's whenever you get inside, you know what I mean. She offers you these iodine tablets, whatever, and they're trying to. There seems to be your cohort is there too, Simmons. And he looks up at you and kind of gives you the wry smile as he's sitting there, kind of waiting to be taken in. Right. So he got there a little bit before you did. He sits down. Looks like we've stepped in a little pile of shit here, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then he looks up, and they immediately call him to you. The doctor's the lady doctor that they calls him in the room to do the little test. Okay, so it looks like you're going to be sitting out there. For at least
Sure. I'll just kick back. I'll look around for any reading material. If nothing, I'll just observe, as I like to do, watching people come and go, people who are maybe ill. I'll also make note if there's more people here sick than normal. That would be abnormal. If this place is packed with the sick people, or Right.
There seems to be like a couple of people that there wasn't some kind of a major scare with the solar flare triggering, but yeah, I would think that you would see anybody there. It was more of like Andre, just in case, you know what I mean. But most people that's on this base are very rational and isn't prone to that. So they're there. If they're there for that reason or not, you don't really know.
Right.
A couple of people sitting to the side are just routine checkups, but it isn't a lot of people, right? After a little while, there's Space Age Man magazine in the little section over there. You can visit yourself.
No, that's trash. I don't read Space Age Man. It's garbage. Propaganda. Yellow Journal. It's propaganda. I will look around. I will look around and see if there's any indication of where our Russians may be. If I can see into treatment rooms, etc. See if I can see. Okay.
There's no immediate sign like that. If they've got them sequestered in a certain area, security or something, which you would know, but you're not.
No, right. I can't visually see them here. Right.
Yeah, but there's no apparent trace of them right now.
Okay.
There is in about. I mean, if you sit there about 15 minutes, the door opens, and the out comes Simmons, and he looks just as dour as ever. I don't think he learned whether or not he's anxious or whatever, but it doesn't seem like he's too perturbed or whatever.
Right.
Running the mill.
Right.
And he looks at you and kind of nods and
I'll say, "Holy shit, Simmons! They can't do anything for that ugly ass face." As he passes by,
he kind of glowers, scours at you almost. Rolls his eyes and steps out while positioning himself like that. Your turn, Jones.
Yeah, I'll.
And then that's when the lady sticks her head out and beckons you in.
Okay, I'll get up and I'll make my way to her. Again, looking about the entire bay to see if there's any evidence that they've brought these Russians in, if their suits, if their helmets are around, or if I can see. Into any other rooms. If not, I'll just pass on through and in. If I do see something, I want to take it in. Right?
Yeah, you can see you can see the.
You froze again.
It was like a patient room, waiting room. That's what you're in, but you can see through the glass of pane where there's several tables that are laid down, and there are a couple of people on them. Okay. Right, you do not see or recognize. Of course, you can't see the face anymore.
No, I didn't know. Right,
you know what I mean?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So you don't really know, but they're kind of stripped down, and then there's sheets laying above them.
Yeah.
Everything you're used to seeing things down to keep the sheets from floating off.
Sure.
There's a little bit of
snaps, like they're snapped
floating
sheets.
Of all the tubles, the tubes, and whatever like that, kind of have a light buoyancy to them in the air. And you sit down, and the little tray that has the utensils on kind of slides a little bit. She directs you to sit down. Take off your shirt, please.
Yeah.
And she seems to be she's clicking the syringe and looking at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I start to disrobe. Meanwhile, I ask her, what did they do with the Russians we brought in?
Russians? And she raises an eyebrow at you and looks at you, and she says, they're in the other bay. They're being watched under security.
Are they suffering radiation sickness?
That's to be determined. It seems like your colleague. I gave him, and she claps on the syringe, a little preventative. He didn't seem to be suffering any immediate effects, but we always want to be cautious. We always want to take precautions. And then she's kind of gesturing. She looks down. You can tell that the main doctor's, of course, tending to the comrades, and she does a little smile, and she's thumping the thing right there. But we want to make sure we take care of our boys.
as I start to take off the jacket, I'll show her the iodine pills. You mean these won't cover it? These won't do the deal?
Yeah, take them now. And like I said, she offered you that when you came in the door, like when
Okay.
waiting.
Well, then I'll swallow a couple of those as well as I strip to the waist, showing her my lean, athletic, 27-year-old masculine body.
Okay. I want to roll and see what
I might even find an excuse to kind of flex a little bit.
I think when you do this, her reaction is almost like it's clinical. You know, it's like body.
Sure.
She doesn't really respond.
But I don't care.
She's about 35 years old. She doesn't see.
What
I mean.
Right.
Yeah. You don't care, but
I
it's
don't
like
care. But she don't care either. But she don't care either.
I know it's almost like your cat on tour. You know.
Right. Right. Sure.
It doesn't even freaking phase her.
Exactly.
But she's about 35, and it's all
right.
Whatever.
Right.
In fact, she probably recognizes you doing that and does a little eye roll as she punches that needle into your side and pops that syringe in.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, look, finishes out with it, but we have to take care of our boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
mm-hmm.
and does it in a motherly way.
Sure.
Builds you up like that.
Sure.
And then I'll give you a little bit of iodine. And if she takes these, she's doing the cursory, you open, check your eyes, and follow me to see if you been feeling sick, which you haven't.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? As far as like any kind of residual. So she goes through the basic thing, gives you kind of a clean bill of health. Well, not totally clean, with some cautionary if you start feeling sick, come back. And she kind of brooms you out of there quick because she had obviously other people waiting. But you've kind of stepped in line because it seems like they've been in there the whole time. But, we got to take care of our boys. Yeah. So she sends you out with a pat on the butt.
Before I leave, I'll turn to her and say, what side effects should I be looking for? Should I be looking for something in which I need to seek immediate medical treatment?
Radiation sickness, if your blood in your urine, if you start seeing double, you have not been debriefed about this, which you have. You're familiar about life and space,
right?
And
well, yeah, but I'm searching for her to slip up in case it's something else. I'm just making sure she confirms radiation sickness. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I bet she sees this as an attempt that you're trying to woo her a certain way.
No, I'm literally getting her to verify that this is what I'm being treated for, right?
Yeah. It would seem so. I mean, she's just like I'm saying, like a passing thing. Like,
sure.
Haven't you been debriefed about radiation? Like everybody,
yes,
space,
but I wasn't listening because I didn't think this could happen to me.
He kind of does a little smile, and she get on Jones.
Right, and then I'm out.
They're gonna need you to deal with those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You've gotten to her a little bit, even though she.
Yeah.
That and then when you lean out, she leans her head out.
Right.
She isn't the primary doctor.
No, they never are.
Like I said, but
yeah, I've never met a doctor in my life. Actually, I've played role playing games with two doctors, but I haven't never met a doctor outside of the.
She's more like a nurse practitioner. Yeah. She's still
the most expensive medical care in the world, and I've never seen a fucking doctor.
I know. But anyway,
the whole world's in the hands of PAs and nurses' assistants. It's unbelievable. While doctors are golfing and shit, right?
I know. My son was born and the nurse delivered it. The doctor walked in there. I'm not joking. He high-fived her.
Yeah. We were at the...
and then, took the check.
I took my wife to the eye doctor yesterday. 6 hours they had my wife.
Oh, my God.
And no surgery. I left there so fucking mad. I was like, dude, there is no reason that it should take 6 hours to see the eye doctor. Yeah, it was crazy. I was madder than fuck, man. The whole day. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh,
anyway, go ahead. Let's get back to this game. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, when you leave, like so she brings you out, you hear the door shutting and the next patient. And you know that, well, if it wasn't stated before that you're still on the duty, you're still on the job.
Oh,
So,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. Are you making your way back to Bennett, the main
Yeah.
chamber area?
Yeah. I'll head directly back to Bennett to see what the latest duty roster says or what he needs, and poke my head in and tell him first thing I'll say to him as I come into the room is, Doc tells me I'm really sick. I should probably get a few weeks off.
Okay, he kind of, yeah, you wish. Wish I had one day off. He sits you down like back to business, and he said, just been alerted that one of the cosmonauts has come around. It seems that they did. It's been verified that they did in the wake of the solar flare.
Right.
However, they were trying to get here, it seems, and they, through the translator on site, they were trying to get here, according to them, because of some issues they're having in their thing from their colony from the quake that Joe has informed us of. So that's definitely
Okay.
the thing, But I'm hesitant about leading you there, or letting you go in that direction. I don't know. The seismic readings it was a minor quake, but I don't know if this foretells a deeper thing or what we're going to be walking into.
Right.
What do you feel?
Well, I mean, if he's awake, I suppose we start with questioning him. What were you doing? What's going on? Why were you out here? I mean, it seems very, very simple. I would let me interrogate him. Let me ask him some questions. Send Roble down here, our translator, and let me go ask the guy some questions.
Okay. Now, Roble's already down there talking with him. I just sent Simmons that way, but I believe he has a little bit of. If y'all can just it's early on in gathering, but it seems to me that he was pretty hectic in trying to retrieve our help for the colony. It seems to be in a dire situation, so I'm at a loss here to meet it, but I do need some more information.
Yeah.
So get there, join Simmons, and see what you can give me.
Okay.
Just raise me on the comms and keep me. And he looks over at Tyler,
Yeah.
Who is trying to reach out to the other Russian base.
Right. Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And he's got this almost like a translator, very basic Russian, and trying to speak Russian out to
Gotcha.
that.
Yeah.
That thing.
Trying to raise them on the comms. I gotcha.
Exactly.
So I'll when I approach the sick bay where they're held, the first thing I'll do is approach the doctor. I'll look for Simmons, but I'm not going to approach Simmons. I'll see where he's at, and tell the doctor we need to talk to this Russian. And if that means you need to stimulate him, bring him around. What condition is he in? Is he going to be able to communicate with me?
Well, when you get there, you see that one of your security personnel out. He immediately recognized you. They're on the comms. He's been alerted that you need to go in. He opens the door, lets you go in, and you'll see Simmons in there. Roble is speaking with the cosmonaut. The other cosmonaut is laid out. Both of them are robed. One of them's kind of adamant. He's a little bit. He's strapped down to the thing. The doctor is looking over him, and has got the eye of the other one peered open and with the little flashlight looking inside. And she is tending to him. The other guy is adamant, and he's speaking Russian. The Russian translator you got, Roble, is trying to calm him down so he can make sense of his words. Simmons is barking at him. A little bit of that prejudice is he's wearing it on his sleeve, like, and it's all, we know that it's more accusatory statements. Russians that he's wanting Roble to get to him, and Roble's kind of dismissed. So it seems a little chaotic there going on.
Okay.
When you walk into it.
So as I walk in, then so clearly he doesn't need to be stimulated. The guy's up and around and hectic. I'll kind of step in between him and Simmons, pushing Simmons kind of step between him and Simmons, breaking their, his sight.
Yeah.
And I'll just whisper as I do, take a break, Simmons. And I will say to Roble, basically I'll just say to Roble, what has he told you so far?
Okay, then this moment, whenever try to get that way, we used to take a break. The Russian's eyes switched from Simmons to wide eye. Panic situation. He's pulling against the restraints, and it does switch from him because that was part of the problem. Was like Simmons kept interrupting,
Sure.
and so the guy would go back and
Sure.
okay, and then whenever you do that, Simmons literally pushes back on you when you try to interpose between them and pushes away. Your body is shifted,
Right.
like he pushes you to where it's like direct view. And he's giving you a hard glance, like you're trying to do this. What gives? He says.
Right. And
You
I
can't
just
come
say,
in between.
Simmons, you need to calm down. Stand down. We don't even know what we're dealing with here.
We're dealing with a couple of communists.
Uh,
You know that why they're here for.
Yeah. You don't have to be dealing with him. Take a break. Just go walk it off. Catch your breath. Yeah. We'll find out what's going on.
Now,
They're
roll your
outnumbered.
D6.
They're butt naked. They have no weapons. Calm down. They're no threat.
Okay, roll your security. Let's see if it's effectual on him.
Oh, yeah, no. 1. It's a failure.
No. Okay. This guy's actually a little bit hyper, whatever, and he throws a punch at you.
Yeah. And I just, using my basic security training, I don't escalate it. I just make sure he can't. So I might, just kind of put up a hand to block it or dodge it, maybe push him in the chest. Just, not allowing him to actually cause harm.
Yeah, I mean, he does make a little contact that raises, like, but, you block him, obviously. But from that, he both rebound off each other the back wall. And Roble stands up. This is immediately and switches to English. Out. And his arm goes like, and you see the flash of his insignia, that he's a little bit, he's above y'all in rank, right? So that's when Simmons' eyes dart from you to him, and he second guesses about his actions, and he kind of huffs a little bit, and he turns on the heel and grabs the lock and it punches it. Let me out of here. You know what I mean? And it slides open, and the guard on the outside kind of looks in.
Yeah, and as he's exiting, I'll yell behind him, "I'll buy you a beer later, Simmons."
Okay. He's kind of, just walking off. You hear a rump, and the door slides open. The guy on the outside doesn't just happen. The security guard, and it shuts, and it's just you, Roble, and 2 cosmonauts in there, and the doctor. The doctor was taken aback too, and she stops and looks kind of like, should she rejoin in what her activities and profession is? And you look, if you're calm, which calms her and enables her to kind of reluctantly goes back, and she goes.
Yeah,
back
I just kind of put a hand to her and like, go ahead and resume your duties, and then I'll approach Roble again and say, Roble, what has he said thus far? What can you make out?
Okay. Roble calms down a little bit and looks at you and says, I'm glad that asshole's gone. Look. And then he turns around and says something in Russian to the cosmonaut, who's still restraining, but he's gotten quiet a little, right? So that upturned a little bit of an apple cart in the environment of the room, and he relaxes a little bit, but he's still trying to pull on the restraints. And Roble, he's hectic. He's saying that there's some kind of intermediate depressurization of his colony over there, and it's gone, like there's been a quake that hit and disrupted something. He was trying to come for help, and the longer we and he turns around and calms, and the longer we wait, the more his people are dying.
Okay, so I'll say to Roble, ask him if their facilities have bulkheads, safety bulkheads, so when there's immediate decompressor, how much of the facility is potentially affected. let him know, we care, we hear you, but do they have secure facilities with bulkheads that would protect the...
Okay. Robo looks at you like that and turns around and starts asking these questions. And you can tell the guy's calmed down a little bit. He's not in an environment so much. And then he calms his talking down, his speech, like we're business now. And Robo shaking his head and looks at you guys. It seems about 80% of the facility was experiencing some destruction. And a large part of it was in the safety bulkheads and plus with this solar flare that came up and the EMP hit, you don't know how functional it is. So he's afraid, and you can tell the guy's really like he's hyperventilating. Yeah. He's trying to perspire. And he's trying to calm himself.
Yeah, I'll go over to the nurse or doctor and say I'll tell Robo first. I think we should get this guy's sedative, let him rest. It sounds like we're going to have to investigate the facility ourselves. And I'll tell the nurse or doctor there, give this man a sedative, put him to sleep, something. And then I'll ask Robo to accompany me with Bennett. So if there's any questions Bennett has that you might be able to answer, you should be there. And then I'll, on the intercom, let Bennett know we're headed back with what we know so far. And then lead him toward Bennett.
As all this is transpiring, you see the Russian... with Romanov is on his
suit
insignia. Yeah. So he looks at you almost knowing like he's in contact with something. Help is that he at least got his message over and he's done his job, and the help could be on the way. Right. So he looks at you with a thankfulness, and almost like he's trying to grab your hand, like thank you, and then he kind of breathes a sigh of relief, and you hear the as his eyes flop down as the nurse, he's starting to rouse and waking up. You know what I mean? And then you see that similar, that syringe go into his arm, and he winces a little bit and turns a little bit. She's giving him some medicine. Right? So at this point, I guess you and Robo assures them again that they need to be, like, trust the doctor.
Right.
That kind of thing. You sure we'll go take care, we'll transport your message.
Right.
As you step out, Robo turns to the security, says, keep this place locked down. Whatever the doctor needs, make sure she supplies it, and keep a lookout on that. We still don't fully know what we're dealing with. You know what I mean? In other words, and then that they call, he hits the thing for another guard to come, and he steps inside with the doctor to oversee. Right. So when you're I guess you go back to Bennett.
I'll approach Bennett, and I'll tell him what we've learned, that I don't believe that it's bullshit. He was way too agitated from my take, way too upset for this to be a bullshit. So I think they legitimately have a catastrophe over there. I don't know what the protocol is for us to approach it without government, without official declaration. But if Tyler, and I look over at Tyler, who's, I'm assuming, still trying to hail them on comms. It sounds to me
he's repeating the same way you did.
We're going to need to physically put eyes on the place and assess the damage. And it's just us. Okay. It's just us out here, and it's just them. So we have to do it somehow, some way. We're going to have to do this. And I'll then defer to Robo to fill in any details that I missed before I got there.
Okay, as you lay all this stuff up there, you can see his jaw, and determined, like he knows. He's shaking his hand what needs to be done, and then he leans over. This is an emergency evac situation. We need to with caution approach. Take the moon vehicles and the trailers that we have on site, the extra men that you need, and we need to evacuate. But also take Robo, and he looks at him. You'll need to come along for this expedition to facilitate.
And I will say, and if I may speak candidly, Simmons should not be involved in this, sir. He's got too much too much baggage here. Robo will confirm that Simmons is a bit untrustworthy in dealing with these Russians.
Okay, I would. I'll defer to your understanding. And he double glances at Robo, who kind of shaking his head like that, like it's too hot for this situation. You know, and he says, "We're already." You hear him murmur, "We're already over damn capacity." You know, our calling anyway about how much we can take, but you say 80%. So if we take some mechanical technicians along, Joe, he knows what is happening here. So he raises Joe up on the intercom, and he said, "I'll start procuring everything you'll need. Just you gather everything, meet everybody at the airlock, assemble everything as fast as you can, Jones, and lead them out. And then also that you know, he hands you have maps and different things that that Tyler's over there holding up, give you to where their location is. You know what I mean? And he equips you with more of he said, we were having a lot of trouble. Tyler's saying we're having a lot of trouble with communications over there. We need to I'm getting nothing back from their facility. If you can raise that.
First thing we'll do is try to secure communications. That'll be point one. Second, we'll try to get inside the facility and determine who's alive and treat those.
Okay.
That would be our plan of action.
Take appropriate weapons along with you, as well as carrying medical things. And then anyway, that's what he's saying this in a blur, as it's almost like the chatter to do this expedition. So if you're on your way to the lockout and get appropriately dressed, everybody else, you can see them filing out, and this airlock has to release.
Right.
But there's also there's another airlock where you see people coming out too.
Right.
And the stable of where these vehicles are lined up are being manned by appropriate,
drivers,
security
personnel.
detail.
Yeah, everybody has a job. Drivers.
You see medics. You see these trailers that are flatbed trailers that are latched onto the back of the things.
Right.
That you can lay.
And I'll and I'll quickly debrief the security team as to what our job is, which is to secure. We don't assume the Russians are going to be happy to see us march on them in force, because it's going to look. So keep your wits about you. But if they've suffered a legit catastrophe, they probably won't be looking to fight, right? But if it turns out this is not as big a catastrophe as we've been led to believe, they may see us as an invading force, so to speak. So I debrief all these security guys to keep their wits about them, but understand the situation. We have to be on guard. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And they listen to everybody's kind of. You're the first man on the site, so you're imparting all this information, and so it's pertinent. And they seem really, professional. They're putting on their appropriate gear, armaments, everything. They're dividing up pretty effectively to where they've got like almost like subsets of teams according to medics. And you've got your mechanics, and they're all locked down. You see Joe as he's passing, everybody suited up. It takes a little while to do this.
Oh, of course,
But everybody's starting to, as soon as they get done, and they have to go and breach and kind of work themselves around that fissure that's in the dividing territory. But you know that you're entering hostile territory, so to speak. All right. So on the way there, there's been a degrading of communications back, and Bennett and Tyler's been on the phone, and they know about what get where this is, be, and everybody was popping iodine pills beforehand. Keep your radioactive shielding up. They've given everybody syringe pop just to get through this radioactive more area, because it seems to be, and it's been breaking up communications, even somewhat between yourself and the headsets as you get toward this fissure, and it only worsens when you crest and go around the fissure in the opening and enter out into the area where there's approach. Now, according to maps and whatever, you got a little bit of a drive. You can almost follow these trails that you pack. picked from the other mobile unit from the Russians that had
Right.
gone.
We can just follow
So
we're just going to follow their tracks
yeah,
back. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like beelines you
Yeah.
straight through. And kind of break on.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah.
I
You
said,
froze
yeah.
up there a
I said
second.
it was
Yeah.
on the way there as you go in it. There doesn't seem a breakaway of other vehicles the side, but you do see on the horizon the domed, and it looks somewhat different from the little rectangular together. The Americans, it's more like igloo domed
Yeah.
areas
Right.
that are like attached together, almost hamster like
Yeah.
columns,
Their
right?
architecture different than ours. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of it's pretty much devoid of external lighting.
Yeah. I was going to
There's
say,
one
is it lit
blinking
up?
beacon,
Yeah. Okay. Is it lit up? All right. All right.
in a couple of places, and you see a radio tower that isn't blinking, that is higher. You know what I mean?
Right.
That would let out.
Right.
There seems to be some. The closer you get, especially, it becomes more apparent that there's been more damage. You see a fissure that leads out the habitats,
Yeah.
a crack in the ground. It's almost like transitioning and meeting up with that. He could only assume, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is nothing but like a shift in the grading to where it
Sure.
rises
Yeah.
up
They've
like 3
suffered an
inches.
earthquake. Right. There's an earthquake here.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, but
Moonquake.
it doesn't impede. As the
Mm-hmm.
wheels kind of just bound over it.
Mm-hmm.
But you do notice that as you cross it,
Yeah.
of some of the wreckage
Right.
and some
And
of the outer tiles, especially the sun resistant tiles, are kind of broken and crumbled off the buildings. That's just an info dump of what you recognize
Yeah.
as you're coming in.
So I will stop the caravan, so to speak, and I will point to the engineers and tell them the first thing first, we got to get power to that comms tower so we can communicate more effectively with Bennett and Winar Base. So get on that. So I'll just issue like basic orders. If we have to, we set up a generator I'm assuming we brought a generator to create power if we can't get their power online. And then I'm going to
Oh, yeah.
look. I'm going to actually look for an entrance that we can access from the outside. Right,
Okay.
that would have a manual door opening, etc. Right, because if they're without power, they won't be able to decompress and open. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think some of what you've been afforded, maps and schematics, loosely, obviously from the spy network or whatever of information we have, Russian mechanical architecture. You know what I mean? That would assume that things are a certain way. So, and just rational probability that it's not going to take you too long to find entrance and exit points.
Right.
Along that. In lines of power, ironically, there is like strung between buildings or whatever. Some of them are loose and down.
Right.
So, from a power source, you do know this other area, fission areas radiating out from the center of this compound, the structure. It's fairly big. It's almost like it's probably a little bit bigger than the American base. In relation, and that's fairly sizable. So as far as what you can see, even so, some obscured by rock formations and whatnot. Now they get the generator. They begin trying to find out where to hook this up.
Right.
I would say that as far as Joe being the primary of that, which you go ahead and roll.
Okay.
And let's see how quickly that's facilitated on Joe's end.
6.
So a lot of this you're having to do like with hand gestures and
Sure.
signs,
Sure.
right? So you've had to raise your visors up to be able to sufficiently see because it's so broken up and the white noise is so intense in this area right now that it's hard to get any specks of words. So it's like everybody's been kind of neutered in their ability to communicate back and forth, but they seem to be comparatively getting their their job on,
Mm-hmm.
efficiently so.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's working pretty seamlessly in that regard. The medics are standing around trying to lend a hand, but they haven't had any kind of immediate thing. Now, Robo comes up and he's reading the placards on the different buildings or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and he seems to be a help for Joe, but also with you, and he punches the side of you like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's pointing toward a specific building, like
Right.
a main area. And there is a bay, almost a lift, to where you could pull a larger vehicle into,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that seems to be maybe where they keep their stable of vehicles or larger entrance, right?
Yeah, so I'll motion to him and the medics and my security team to follow, as we need to get inside this facility and start either, identify the dead, or at least get in there and identify what's functioning.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, when he goes to it, there seems to be a power outage, but through their motions back and forth, they've hooked up the generator specifically to it.
Mm-hmm.
And after probably about 30 minutes, power, and there's a hum, and then the door lifts up
Okay.
and grinds, and it seems to be off track. So it gets up about halfway, and it's
Sure,
a slight
catches,
but
right.
you can get in there and probably put in back in one of the trailers.
Right. Right.
If you want to load out anything,
sure,
the lights
sure.
are flickering as you get in, and then they steady their flicker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a domed area. That is a place where they keep a lot of the just the transfer vehicles, as well as weapon caches and everything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a domed area. I mean, area that is a door that's going to tunnel to the next area, right?
Yeah.
Now, Robo's looking at you and pointing like we need to go with this direction.
Mm-hmm.
The habitat,
Mm-hmm.
the center of the habitat. So, and there seems to be a bigger domed area in the center, and it spirals out to smaller habitat
Okay.
around it, right?
Yeah,
So
I'll
you're in
follow.
one of
We'll
those.
follow in close behind Robo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He does that, and there's a little bit of trick. You got a mechanic there. Joe is working on opening that door,
Mm-hmm.
and it supposedly in your mind hisses, but there's no sound,
Mm-mm.
and it stops. So all this is dead quiet, right?
Mm-hmm.
There, other than the white noise, the hiss of white
In our
noise, all
headsets. Yeah.
headsets, yeah. So one by one, they obviously want you to go first to security.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I will go first with two of my men. Through what bend in, however we have to get into this door. Flashlights, in case there's not enough ambient lighting, I will have flashlights and a pistol drawn, and I will step into this area.
Yeah, this area is almost open. There's a lot of open. Just some of the, I don't want to say moonlight, but just some of the radiant light, starlight can come through
Right.
as you walk through to a certain area. I mean, to the next main area, the broachette.
Mm-hmm.
He has to do some kind of. It's a small power bank that he's hooking to be able to open it and let it open. Almost tap in immediate, and then a lot of them open up to most extent. You can tell there's a shift and crack in the foundations everywhere you're going, like spiderweb cracked. And when it comes up, sometimes it comes up fully of these doors you're passing through, and other times it'll halfway. So there's a little bit of ducking, dodging.
Right.
You enter this main area to where it's totally blacked out. Your lights are searching off in the distance.
Right.
Any flashlights you have and illuminating areas, right?
Right. Right.
But it's a cold, silent darkness
Right.
that you're peering
And there's
into,
no power at all yet.
no,
Okay.
no, not beyond the one immediate power bank that they set up in the
Gotcha.
main area.
Gotcha.
If they have another one that they got on a smaller wagon that they're pulling.
So, are we
behind.
seeing any dead bodies? Are we seeing any?
Yeah, you see tendrils of like some of the wiring just kind of inside of this domed area, which reaches up for a good ways, right?
Mhm.
From the outside, it probably goes up 30 foot or so.
Sure.
But there's tendrils of wiring that's been severed down that seem to be like the problem that Joe points up, but it also is an access for them to hook up the loose wirings to this bank that they got and maybe repower portions of it. And that's what his men are doing over the side.
Right.
It takes a while, but as you're if you're looking around for security reasons or whatnot.
Oh yeah, we're looking for threats, but we're also looking to again identify if there's a lot of dead people and
Yeah. That's what you're seeing as you walk around, even though it's pitch black in certain areas.
And they're dead, of course, from suffocation, decompression.
Oh yes, decompression is
so not from gunfire. They're not dead.
Their eyes are exploded. They're
right. Decompression.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's
like rapid decompression.
Gotcha. So they're less bodies and more evidence of what used to be bodies.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay, right. So blood, exploded bodies. Christ. So we're just wading through. We're wading through Ichor. Yeah.
This seems to be a main command hub or security detail. It's kind of associated like in this portion of the larger dome.
Right.
As you're walking through, and he hooks up, and some of the lights computer works come on. It seems to be partitioned over there as they hook up, but it does afford you some lights to shine out and kind of illuminates.
Once we get power in this room, I'm going to approach one of their computer terminals with Roble. And I'm gonna motion to Roble, and if I have to, I'll make hand motions to pull up security, footage of security files to see if we can identify what time it was when this occurred. That kind of thing. When the power might have gone off. So I want to research. I want to use the computer to try to backtrack when this occurrence happened, if there's any security, actual footage, camera footage, if there was any...
as you gesture Roble over, as the power starts to come through, there's some flickering of lights, like I said, in a portion of this section of the dome, this sectioned off, all these security detail and people, it seems like 2 of them were able to get out, the 2 that made it to you, but everybody in here, rapid decompression, like you said, it's a haunting like veil of light that reaches to a certain darkness in this room, but you see like evidence of what used to be people. Matter, biological matter just spewed everywhere, but these lights are flickering and causing this haunting look on around these. In a lot of the terminals, the screens are obscured by blood.
Sure, of course.
The people that were once looking at them. Right. So that's going to have to be wiped off.
Oh yeah.
There's a few. There's about 3 or 4 terminals that are live and active right now in this room.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll search around for the cleanest one. And again, I'll motion to Roble. Let's pull up some information, right, best we can. Again, being a Russian terminal, he knows how to speak Russian. I'm assuming he can read the keyboards and he can.
Yeah, the light's kind of obscure. He gestures to hold your light to where you can see readily, and he stops, and it's obscured by not only the light but the blood. He's wiping it off to get a certain thing. He starts hitting, even though he's fat fingering everything on the keyboards to try to pull up something, and it goes back. There's a video that he pulls up first off, and it shows everything up to that point of loss of power.
Right.
From a upset terminal that was the room, and you just watch it in real time as things happen, as the quake and then the explosion of bodies and everything,
as
and then
the
power finally goes out. But you can see people are bent over and alerting. There's klaxons going off. There's trying to alert the different sections of that. Is what Roble's saying he's overhearing from the when he's tapping into the intercom.
Sure.
It's peeking its way through the white noise that obscuring everything, right? So he's seeing that, but it's pretty evident to what was happening.
Right.
He backs off. Roble backs off a little bit, and he looks at you kind of with a deathly pale look, like this is horrific, and he can't too readily get that off the screen to the next. And what he's trying to do, you see him, and it's like he's talking. You see his lips moving, like he's talking to you, and he's thinking you're hearing everything. But what he's pulling up is these things that shows the schematics of the place.
Yeah, exactly.
The detriment as it's happening.
I need to know what areas could be survivors be held up in.
It's highlighting the areas that the safe bulkheads and bunkers that people get into for situations like this. So you see that there is 3 across the area of main areas of where people go in to secure
Okay.
survivability, right?
Okay.
There are power at 2 of them
Okay.
currently.
Okay.
The showing that the other one does not have power,
Right.
and it is the one that is to the right of you. These spawn out in a way that there's one basically left, forward from your direction
Yeah.
as you enter the place,
Yeah.
and then to the right. The one with the right is out of power.
Okay.
The one forward and to the left, it may take a little bit of a navigating to get to,
Yeah.
but they're on the extremities of the locale.
Okay.
The base to where people can get to them. Now, he's trying to tap into the video feed of these locations.
Correct.
That's what he's trying to do, to pull up and see if there's any survivors. You do see dim flickering lights whenever the video feed opens up into both of these locations, like it'll pull up into two inset windows, and you see that there are people huddled
Right.
in these rooms, and their actions are, the frame rate is awful. It's like shuttered, and
Right.
but you do see some movement of the peoples.
Right.
They're not in vac suits. They're not anything. It's like they're just held up. Some of them seem erratic and moving, and the other ones docile. There seems to be a couple of individuals either passed out or
Right. Yeah, they're running out of
each.
maybe running out of oxygen, etc. Well, we can't
Yeah.
open them because we'll decompress and kill them instantly. So, yeah, I basically motioned to Roble, keep working on this,
Correct.
and then
Okay, you
I
broke
began
up.
to work
Oh, you
my
broke
way back to the gentleman's the people we put in charge of getting the communications tower going. I'm going to work
Yeah.
my way back through the complex to those individuals. I'll
Yeah.
approach and basically motion. Do we have? Can I see if it's
Okay.
powered up? Can I? Is this
Oh yeah, that was primary one of their agendas, like
right?
y'all stated,
Right.
and like
So-
Ben said. And you see someone on there's a communication portal in the main room that you were at too.
Right.
But the tower, when you go back there, the tower, he looks at you and gives
Okay.
right. So that earlier role just informed that everything's going fairly
Right.
seamlessly with everybody, their jobs.
Right.
The medics seem to be like multitasking or multi-purpose in the fact that they're helping move things around.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also, one of them comes up to you. The doctor is like, he's gesturing, can't really see it, but to where the victims, where
Right.
they need to be, that kind of thing.
Right,
You
and
know,
I basically, hold up a finger. 1 second. I basically get to an intercom inside the facility since there's power now, and we know those 2 bays have power. I'll go to an intercom and
Yeah.
open the PA system and address. I don't care if they can understand me. I'll communicate basically that somebody's here. Right. So I press the intercom, open the PA system. So anywhere there's power PA, everybody should be able to hear me speak. Well, maybe they won't. It will actually be through the. Oh man, I don't know if we could. We'd have to get our comms jacked into their comms first.
Yeah, I mean, you do see, you do, but the habitat, they can look. So I'm just saying, you saw that from the video.
Right.
With it.
Okay.
So
I
mean, if you
didn't
wanted to
hear
do a
that
visual
though.
thing.
I didn't hear you. You broke up.
I said I probably during the breakup, but felt as portholes on. You did witness that inside of these domiciles, so it's natural to assume, that maybe you could do a visual thing with the people that.
Okay.
contact them.
Okay.
You know what I
So
mean?
I'll motion
Like
for the medics to follow me, and we'll head back
Yeah.
to those domiciles and try to communicate visually with them. Is that what you're
Okay.
saying? We can visually communicate with them?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
from that, even probably from the inside the main portal. If you just go down
Right.
that thing, you could probably get there.
Gotcha. The problem is there's no way we can access them without killing them instantly.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's probably a level. Nothing is really instant.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have about a few minutes, and then they pass out, and then the body starts to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have to be some rapid. When they're exposed to the vacuum effect space.
But I think it'd be
Yeah.
safer to try to secure this facility. If we can make the facility we're in vacuum safe before we open up any doors to treat them, that would be the way to do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially in that first area.
I will
you
get
saw, you only saw a couple
engineers.
of that.
I will get engineers on securing this larger space, so we can open those doors, and then they wouldn't be exposed to the vacuum at all.
Yeah, I would say the 10 to 12 people is each of these domiciles. Even though the video was erratic, that you could safely assume is, you know, how many you got to contend with. You know what I mean, in both of these areas.
Right.
Right. Okay. So that's what you're
So
trying to
yeah,
do.
I mean, so again, then I'll ask the medical officer.
Yeah.
If we get these doors open and you go in, you can treat them, and we can shut the doors. We can reshut the doors.
That would work.
Yeah. So that's
he
what we'll
looks
have
at
to
you.
do.
He's immediately in first response.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
like-
So my concern is exposing them to the vacuum of space for. I mean, won't they be sucked out? I mean, the minute we open these doors, they're just going to be sucked the fuck out, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
open these doors. They're going to be exposed.
Well, I mean, there's a tube anyway between there. So if you get them in the tube,
Right.
it could provide something like that. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So, but yeah, you have to make that.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as we
Vacuum
can
proof.
secure before we send medics in to treat
Yeah.
them. Right. Yeah. Okay.
A little airlock type area. or
Right.
something
We
to
need some
facilitate
place that allows us to get in there without exposing them. Right. Right. So whatever
Yeah.
if the facility's built for that, or if there's a way we can usher them into a compartment in which we can seal them in to protect them. Right.
Yeah,
That's, I mean,
and
that's
Jo- and Joe-
clearly
Joe's
we
right
don't want to
beside
kill them
here.
to get to them. Right.
But yeah, I would say this is a safe assumption that the outlying thing of these bulkheads,
Yeah.
that the tubes leading through them could facilitate as an airlock.
Correct. Okay.
You know,
Right,
or at
right.
least less of a
Right.
vacuumous area if it's still size.
Right.
It's probably why they were,
Right.
you know, for all intent and purposes.
Okay.
So there may be a little bit an effect. You
Right.
know?
So I will then retrieve Roble from his current duties and we'll
Yeah.
we'll scramble around for some way to write in Russian what we want them to
Yeah.
do, so we can.
Oh. Okay.
So we'll
You
just
hold 'em up
use,
to the-
we'll just hold them up to the thing and tell them you need to get into that, secure yourself, that we're going to come in and secure the area so we can treat you or whatever and talk to them, right? So
Yeah, so I'm thinking you're writing this down on a piece of paper anyway. It's just the information's so bad.
Right.
Maybe get a whiteboard and say, "What's what we do?"
Yeah.
And he will use that in
Right.
turn to relay the information.
right, right,
I would say setting everything up in this manner is still, if my understanding is you're going through the main portal to get to the thing, make that airlock, have him in there, tell him how to prep, stay back, decompress, and then we go in there and secure them within. Roll to see how effective that is overall.
sure.
Just your profession of setting
6.
things up.
So
Okay.
success.
Yeah, perfectly successful when this is pulled off. Okay, I know that there's probably a lot of before this goes down. As the doctor and his team are inside of this airlock, when they open it, the mechanic opens it. You know what I mean? Then they're able to get in. You do feel like the walls and the tunnel right before that kind of take effect as that imbalancing happens between the two. You know what I mean? There's some people you can watch on the video. If your command posted up there, you'll watch some people just fall over and pass out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Pretty much everybody in the room just drops. And then you watch your medical team go to work as they're
Right.
putting, they're treating everyone. There's only, like I said earlier, a couple of suits other than
Right.
what was taken in that area that you went into.
Right.
That was immediately accessible if you want them to take that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I think some of the mechanics would or whatever.
Yeah. Oh
To be
yeah.
able to-
Yeah.
Yeah. So at least two of them can be secured. This is on the first area.
Right.
So it seems that they're getting on with their work. And then there is, while you're viewing this over the screen, there's like an EMP pulse and almost like a wave that comes up and totally knocks your screen power out, the generator out, the generator's still turning or whatever like that, but it stops. There's what would be sparks falling.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little power nodes
Right.
and then just floating around, but you feel it's almost like a shock wave that
Okay.
goes through your being too, and from basically the ground under coming up. There's a tremor,
Mm-hmm.
silent tremor as it shakes, but it's also taking out the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so everything dies. Your comms die, go out. Your power on your suit dies down,
Okay.
and it's almost like a vacuum-esque type feel as it rebounds and then goes through again,
Right.
like an MP pulse, in conjunction with the quake
Right.
coming, radiating
Right,
almost
right.
directly underneath you,
Mm-hmm.
coming up and then going out, and then the buzz of the white noise intensifies even further than what had happened, where there was a silence, right?
Right.
But everybody could see everybody float a little bit
Right.
and have to grasp on as they re-land, almost like
Mm-hmm.
gravity comes back for a second,
Right.
and everybody,
Right.
move there in gravity,
Okay. So I'll
And you
motion
got
to one of the engineers or scientists, and through my mask, lip, what the fuck was that?
Okay, you're looking at him, and he's looking at you like, I don't know, and he turns around to that screen, that monitor, and pulls it up, looking. What you can ascertain is like some kind of, what he pulls up on the screen is the basic schematic of the whole of the compound,
Right.
and then he hits a couple of buttons, and you see it go through like infrared,
Mm-hmm.
and there's definitely a spike, like a little bit to the right of the right below it seismically, and it turns on it. It shows a depth below there,
Mm-hmm.
but it also has a weird bluish red, bluish on the infrared, like the energy spike.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a blue too, which is, it's like it's overlapped as far as an energy spike as well as a seismic spike, which I know is just giving off that energy. But there's something peculiar about it, okay? Because it goes so white hot, it starts to dissipate, like on the old tube TVs we watch, right? So it's like you see that interlaid, and it'll go down to a specific,
Okay.
and then it's like a recording where it blooms out again, pot white,
Right.
and it'll go back in that
Right.
loop.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks at question mark in his head, and then what I'm saying is the hot white blooms down, and you'll see red with that bluish kind of thing going out. So it's on repeat, and he looks at you and goes like, you tell he's never seen.
Right.
He
Right.
can't.
So then I quickly round up as many as I can, and with the whiteboard, express to them we need to evacuate and get these survivors out. We can't afford to all stay here and die, so we need to get who we can out, and then we need to. We don't know. There's no. I don't know how we can stop this ourselves, right? So I impart to them we need to evacuate and find a way to get these survivors out as fast as possible. So I will relay to some of my security men they need to head back to Bennett and return with as many vac suits as they can, and we'll try to bring out people 4 at a time, 6 at a time, whatever. Right.
Okay. Yeah. There's I would think a certain compliment.
I can't. I keep losing your sound. For some reason, your sound's going out all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
I would say that there's a certain amount of vac suits that are on there. Just like I said, 2 of them were immediately available in there.
Mm-hmm.
So
we'll
back,
look around for all the vac suits we can find then, and get these survivors into vac suits and start marching them out. Yeah.
Exactly. I would just say like the different areas of where their airlocks in this facility might readily supply that. Need at least a certain degree, because it is a chronic thing of you feel slight tremors.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
just by seeing things move around.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Not all that much, but they seem to be gradually intensifying.
Sure,
You can
sure.
ascertain. The man from your left, down, he's bent over somewhat,
Mm-hmm.
and you see he doesn't have his, because y'all need to see each other, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but the solar shielding is up, and then when he bends over, the whole interior is just plastered in vomit
Right,
as he goes. So, and you see him trying to steady himself, and he
Right.
stands back up, washes back down
right.
like that. But you can tell a little bit of radiation sickness is starting to
Yep. Yep.
to
Right.
grab hold. So it's imperative. It's been about I would say about an hour now
Yeah.
to where all these people are going to treat it, and they're gathering these people with the vac suits that they have, and they've
Right.
been transporting into this tube
Yeah. Right.
and trying to shut off
Mm-hmm.
and bring things in as an operation,
Right.
using that as a pseudo airlock
Right.
to bring into. And then these people have been kind of treated. A lot of them are still unconscious, but they're suiting them up, and they got these little wagons that they're
Right.
or stretchers, so to speak, and they've got this to where it's kind of like an ant line of trying to move the people out
Right,
to the
right.
larger trailers that are behind the moon buggy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
you've
our-
set them on course and rolled a 6, so
Yeah.
they're doing this kind of
Yeah.
simulated.
Yeah, our goal is we're going to have to evacuate, get them out, and then we'll have to come back with a different kind of group of people.
Now, this second area is the guy points toward you. He's monitoring the video feed from the second bunker where the people have been habitating, and that they seem to be like they're dropped, especially after this event that just happened. It's like they've lost consciousness and dropped. So there's really, as far as a live feed of heat signature, there seems to be some kind of infrared. He's seeing still faint heat signatures in there, but a lot of them have dispersed.
Right.
And the time it's taking you to evacuate
Right.
is about half complement.
Right.
And they're weak right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the rest
Before
of
this-
the compound's too
Right.
big for us to investigate. Right. So at this point, at this point, I might have Roble access computers and see if there's any way to track via the computers if there's areas of this base still, with power and still active, or if the whole damn complex is like this.
Yeah, it seems like the whole complex is like this when he says it. The beacon that you saw, whatever, a couple of lights you saw, was from emergency.
Right.
But especially after that second shock,
Okay.
when everything went back off, even those went out. So
Right.
the whole base is flying, except for the emergency things that your team is hooked up, right, to keep things alive. So they're working against time.
Right.
The other base, you could probably sufficiently, with the time it's taken from this evacuating this first
Right.
to the second, you might be able to say 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
From the 12 that was seemingly in there, 10 to 12,
Sure. Yeah.
it's gone about halfway. You might be able to say that if you can get to them in time.
Right.
Which it looks like you can.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna organize as many as we can to do that. But at
Okay.
the same time, I'm telling my crew to start packing up because I'm not gonna have I'm not gonna have this whole expedition wiped
Oh,
out by whatever's
yeah.
whatever's happening here, whatever's coming. So
I would say-
we're at the same time breaking down and organizing, but at the same time we're going to try to retrieve these people, and then I will remind the computer analyst to recover the hard drive. I want that information so we can show what this to scientists that might be able to break down what the hell this is or what's caused it or what's going on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
There is sufficiently, well, I'm gathering what you're saying. There's a caravan already leading out from this first chamber that they were able to take the people.
Right. Correct.
They sufficiently took your forces together,
Yeah.
all the vaccines. They are already being strapped down and already being headed
Right.
out. The remnants of y'all are trying to get
Correct.
Take it out as possible.
Exactly.
Using the same
Yeah.
method. And these tremors have been repetitive, and these spikes have occurred a couple of more times to where people are having to work around it. You even see they're a little bit more intense as they come up. This white hot disperses. People are
Now,
getting nervous.
can I discern? Can I discern whether I can tell if they're coming faster, or are they about the same amount of time between?
No, they're coming faster. It's
Okay.
more of a ever increasing pulse.
After about the third event, I'm going to if I don't know if we at that point, depending on how far we are into saving these other people. After about the third one of these events, I'm gonna tell the crew we got to abandon these people and move. We're gonna have to get out of here, unless we are literally saving some of the people in the next chamber. But I won't risk. I won't risk the whole expedition for it. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. And every time they pulse, that was part of the deal anyway. They've been pulsing, but every time they do, there's more people dropping in that room. Correct. As far as like infecting them. Correct. So especially, I mean, where everybody's been set up on the precipice of getting some out, that maybe say 3 is like I was getting at. That's probably the most you'll be able to get to.
Right.
2 or 3.
Right.
Even with these pulses happening. Okay.
Yep.
So factoring that in, if you want to continue or you want to drop the ball.
Oh no! I'm gonna tell I'm gonna ask for volunteers, those who want to stay, to try to save the ones we can. And
the first responders are in the mindset.
Those who want to stay to try to save the ones we can, we will. Right, and so assuming what you said, we'll be able to save 3 with the volunteers. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be the goal. I'm not going to order anyone to. To stay but those who volunteer, if they want to stay, we'll try to save who we can, right? But then I order everyone else, to get out of the location and start heading back to the American base, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
There's that can be done. It takes a little bit to get the other 3 sketchy. It still goes on relatively well, in spite of all the crap that's happening. So you're able to get 3 of the individuals out.
Right.
The rest of them, they can see have already been,
expired. Right.
Yeah, expired. You know what I mean? So they get everybody up, and when the database that you want to get up on the hard drive seems to contain a lot of. Well, I broached that in the aftermath, but everybody is secured and trying to. Relieve that. Roll. Don't want it to seem like it's a luck thing. It's just like the third phase of how, securely everything's done. Just your profession of organizing.
3.
3. Yeah. Okay. This is still effective. It's a little bit. Oh, if I'm using a gradient, okay, that's a little bit rocky. When you get there. And everybody's been like having to do hand gestures. Oh, boy's still utilizing this way to write and tell you. So it's a little bit more facilitated as far as like him calming the the live Russians down or whatever. Everybody's the Russians are obviously thankful they're leaving. They're still fearful about something that you could see. Even the further, I'm saying that because even the further, still in anticipation. Beyond just like bemoaning the fate of their loved one.
Yeah, who knows, right? Yeah, I can't worry about their psychological trauma right now. I'm trying to get everybody home safe, everybody out of here safe. So
exactly. I mean, it's for security. That's the general feel of things that you may have to kind of clamp down on.
Yeah,
that's about the only thing that would happen is you get further and further away from it.
Right.
You feel the tremors and the pulses are still affecting you on a broader.
Right.
They're more intense.
Yeah.
As you feel this pulse kind of go through you, and it's almost a loss of gravity, a loss of sound, everything avoid, and then suck back, and then your feet retouch the ground ever so lightly in the atmosphere, and everybody's kind of used to that going back down. But they're more intensified when you get past the ravine and edge around that corner. There is a white hot flash
Okay.
behind everybody.
Right.
There is, or if you're turning around to look at it,
Oh yeah. Oh
it's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
a natural reactionary type thing.
Yeah.
There is a total devoidment of, and everybody lifts up a little bit.
Right.
You can feel your body. It's almost like you're of consciousness in a void anyway. And you turn around and look, and there's this white hot beam shooting up into space, and above it, this black obelisk of sorts, floating thing.
Okay.
As it penetrates and goes into it,
Okay.
there's like the white hot. There's no sound, of course, obviously.
No. Right. Yeah.
But the radiating pulse
Right.
is like that, and almost pushing y'all forward as it takes away any kind of semblance of tactile or sensory
Right.
notice, and it's like you pulled off into a void, and all of a sudden you see that again, and then
Right.
again it's wave after wave, and it pushes you forward, and then all of a sudden the vacuum as it collapses in on itself
Right.
and becomes a solid beam of white,
Right.
a column of light
Right. Gotcha.
that like it's almost it's just stationary
Right.
and there
Right.
as you go over there, and then the landscape of the moon and everything applies to you. The off in the distance, your habitat that you see, and you're trying to get to the American base, is slight winking and flickering, and then it goes out of power,
Oh. Right.
and then that's where we'll close the curtain on the playtest.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. Yeah. That was fun.
we will. It's interesting because of the random seeds that I was rolling. Well, I mean, obviously. So, and then we got to get our feet on the grounds on how this is, because I don't want it to be like me just info dumping on you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Sometimes in an environment, especially if we haven't set how things work, which we
Correct.
will in the book,
Yeah,
where
correct.
things can be easily.
Yeah, I
things.
mean,
So,
listen, players can only play as well as they can based on effective communication of information. So in this particular setting, you have to communicate more because the players come to the table knowing less. In this scenario right here, the way we did it,
yeah,
we literally, I literally wrote one paragraph of what my character was, picked his profession, picked his amateur thing, and that's it. We started playing. So there is no. I think you just started beforehand and said it's going to be kind of a
yeah.
recognizable technology, still around Earth, and that's it. We started. So there's no.
What's beautiful is I was making that off the cuff, even the setting. You know what I mean? So
yeah, of course, yeah. And again, so we're play testing the mechanic without
Yeah.
any other information. So
any presumption about what the
yeah,
setting, because
we haven't
we're building
written
it
we
live.
haven't written those right. We haven't written a setting. We haven't written the right. So we're literally play
Yeah.
testing the simple mechanic and right.
Yeah.
And again, we know it'll work just from Dark Age of Man, but this particular mechanic and how we're applying our profession, our professional, a profession or amateur or whatever to the want to do something, right? It worked fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it relegated into more of a rescue mission that you were in your capacity.
Well, I had no choice
You know,
because there
organizing.
was only so much I could do. Right, we weren't going to be able to secure the facility once I realized we were dealing with once we uncovered on the computer that we were dealing with something that wasn't quite an earthquake, but wasn't quite a solar flare, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, well, we can't stop this thing, so we're just going to have to get the hell out of the vicinity fast as we can. So then it became not a recovery, like recover the base, get it up and functioning, but more of let's get who we can to get out of here, right? So, and that's fine. I mean, again, there was no
Yeah.
goal. It was I assessed the situation and made executive decisions, so to speak, based on the information I was getting, right?
Yeah. The what was interesting is it was a bit of a slow burn.
You went out again. For some
said
reason,
it was-
you've had your sound go out more often. I don't know if it's a connection deal or if there's something up with your microphone or what, but
I might need to look at my connection again and,
Because
and
boy,
maybe reposition.
you've had a couple of freezes, but boy, your microphone's like intermittent. It's bizarre. Yeah.
Really, yeah, that's going to inhibit us from really playing.
Well,
You've had a lot of freezes on my end.
Yeah.
And, so I was waiting, like, I think I got what he's saying, and then I'll say,
Well, it came off fine. I mean, we played okay, but yeah, it would be ideal if we weren't having this at all. Right.
Exactly, because we're having to work around that.
Yeah.
Much less
Yeah.
coming up with everything else. But what was cool about what I was rolling, see, that I literally just jotted down in the space of 5 minutes while we were.
Sure. 5 minutes before we started. Yeah.
Is like it's like on the precipice of something that it's like I don't want to give it away because I was going to explain what seeds led to what.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, don't. That's
but I'm like,
yeah,
dude, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So,
but
anyway.
that was the original concept with Dark Age of Man. The GM should not have to prepare once we have a setting, once we have a place and a time and a right culture, whatever. The random seeds become all you need, and as long as we're free as players to take agency and pursue, it doesn't mean we're without any cause to exist, so to speak, right? Yeah, and I'm the one that decided my character was a security, worked for this civilian defense security. I didn't know where I was at until you started. I'm on a moon base, but I was the one that decided he was a security guy. And
yeah,
right, his profession.
You're breaking up now. Yeah, no, it was beautiful, and we just played off.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was cool to see, like, even like I said, when you start these games and like the compounding difficulty or situational difficulties, like I had mentioned, like Bennett saying, well, we're already over capacity here.
Mm-hmm.
On, you know what I mean? They're packed out, much less having to take a bunch of
sure
from that. But this is literally what I was rolling, and I'm going like, hell, you're already heading back with all that. They're room or whatever the hell they could do in this stated tightly guarded area, like being on a submarine,
Yeah.
Like you look around, everybody's walking the area, but and even way it was, I didn't know how the structure of the Russian base was going to be outlined, like I said.
Sure, of course not.
And I'm like, well, this is, I mean, I love that you can just create this stuff and then have to deal with the fallout of it later that could rear its head. So
sure, of course. And again, like I've said before, whether it becomes real and the truth as you create it, or you wrote it 4 days ago, or you bought a book, you bought a module, and in the module it says this is what the Russian base looks like. That's my point about the idea of this. The variable that pops up, that is the truth. How the details that you put into that to convey it to us, that's all truth. Whether you wrote it 5 days ago and prepared it, or whether you bought it in a book, or whether you are using that prompt to create it, once you say it, that's the truth, and it's as valid as if you read it from a book, or as if you wrote it 5 days ago and shared it with us. And this is where I think a lot of people don't understand that once the GM sets the boundaries, gives the details, tells what's true, it becomes the truth right then and there, whether it was written or whether you prepared it. Right?
Yeah.
And as long as you're consistent about what you tell us, then it will never break. The problem is you can't say, oh, you're on a wagon train in Oklahoma, then 5 minutes later forget and say, yeah, this wagon train, this caravan in Texas. You'd say, wait a minute, we were on a wagon train in Oklahoma. That's the truth. You can't then change it to a convoy in Texas, right? So the reality of something being written, pre-written or written in a book to use is for consistency's sake. What the danger of creating your truth as we go, which you have to do from those variables that you're rolling, you have that consistency. But then once you state it, you have to remember what you've stated, right? You have to remember what you've given us, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where it'll all break down, is when when the GM is inconsistent with what he's said or what he's creating. That would be the problem, right? And which we've never had that problem in Dark Age of Man, and never have we had a problem where 10 minutes later you contradict what you've created, right? So in science fiction that could be harder because because you're dealing with something like the vacuum of space, and you're dealing with power sources, and you're dealing with whether a compartment is
sealed or not, or
right.
leak.
So that's where some of those consistencies in science fiction can become a little tougher than being consistent to the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages, and right.
Oh yeah, it
science
depends
fiction
on
can have
somebody's
some
knowledge
serious,
of the science,
right? So
you know,
right, and like I said, so science fiction. The problem with science fiction is I do believe things are only as valuable as the thread of truth connects those things as far as the science of it, right?
Yeah, I think. Well,
the minute I create aliens that can live in the vacuum of space, and then later the players try to eradicate the aliens by ejecting them into the vacuum of space, and I allow it to happen, I've just screwed my premise that these aliens could survive in the vacuum of space. So these are the little things you got to keep careful with, right?
Narrative consistency, yeah. Right. I mean, you know, and it is like to get some not know this or that about space, even though we can say that it's relatively known, industrial sci-fi way. You know, like is death like immediately imminent? Like when we get in a vacuum of space, do we immediately explode? No, it's like a deterioration. But somebody may think that, but it's deterioration. But like you're talking about, like you could see a rock go through a spaceship, then everybody's like an airplane, everybody's sucked out of that thing. You know what I mean? Which happens because of the equalization process.
Correct.
That's like when we were playing, I was like, well, they could use this. Fortunately, I said that there was a tube or tunnel between, like a smaller little pseudo airlock.
Yeah, and by the way, that ain't a problem, because of course they do. Of course they all have hallways between every domicile or every bubble, right?
Yeah. And that's why you could bulkhead and lock them off, but not everything automatically reaches that decompression area. Right. You know what I mean? And you're going to have decompression sickness or anything else. It's like the bins going up.
Right.
And so you're dealing with a lot of sick people here that's going to be inundated that medical facility when you get back.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And it's just going to be like crazy. Yeah. They could preemptively like give them radiation sickness. How many people is going to be? Oh, boy's already throwing up in his helmet. I'm saying like this there. When I said it was there for an hour, somebody's going to be getting sick. But see, mechanically speaking, and I know that a lot of me was trying to dump out a little information to make sure that we both were on the same page as far as the impression of the area and the tech level. Like that is pre-wrote, right? Correct. So we have that to get over, but also like the reaction. I had your statements. How he was going to react to you. You'd oppose your step between, which is smart. And I'm like, I've already said he was, a bigot or a prejudice, and I'm like, okay, well, I have to recognize that I said that it's legitimate thing. How is he going to react? If y'all are both the same, like, is he going to be like, okay, I'm sick, I'm just walking out of here in a huff, or either like, wait a minute, you're not letting me beef, or who are you to say like you're all loving these Russians? So I got to roll some kind of reaction check, which I just had you do, like it in a thing like.
I make the roll. You decide how what kind of response comes from that. Sure.
Roll your security to see how you're going to contain him. So that was applicable.
Yeah.
Sometimes on a larger scale, like we say, micro, like how you just happen to roll sixes every time.
Well, I rolled a 1 on that one. I think I rolled a 1 on his response.
Oh, yeah, I just meant like when y'all were trying to, like on
I rolled a
level,
of sixes there,
trying to handle like how things were going to break down. If it fails, it was going to be some kind of hiccup. But you were, from your portion, I think I had you roll for how efficiently they were going to be able to set up.
I mean, in this particular game, this particular test play, and this is going to be true, I think, of our game. Is players aren't necessarily going to be doing necessarily menial tasks that we're rolling against. They're going to be issuing orders. They're going to be organizing. So I was really, in a way, organizing the rescue. I was issuing orders. I was communicating. So those checks are going to be for me to facilitate those things.
How effective things will go out.
As opposed to me, as security, shooting a gun.
But that could be narratively taken like you've got, you told them to do this, but if you failed it, some jackass is going against your thing, or you're trying to, it would just be narratively interpreted.
And so in a game where we're playing like Dark Age of Man, so much of our game is not about the menial doings of a job. It's about overall broader scope of communication or societal of impacts.
It's larger context.
I'm going to raise the fjord and run those Vikings. I'm tired of them raiding my territory. I'm going to raise the fjord and we're going to go fight the Vikings. It's a much grander. You're making bigger decisions that affect multiple.
Yeah.
It's not just I'm going to draw my sword and cut the goblin's head off. I'm going to raise an army because I'm fed up with the Vikings raiding my North Territory. You're making everything is on a bigger kind of a bigger, as opposed to just characters doing their whatever menial tasks to get through the dungeon crawl or if you see what I'm saying, right?
But like when you stated that about on a larger scale, done, which is kind of what we're doing here. Like you say, this profession based, and especially if you have the capability to be over others, or some over you, how effective are you doing your job, and what are the ramifications of that or the fallout if it doesn't go as planned, and that's the risk reward thing. But whenever I mention like the micro and macro, like even if you're rolling on a larger scale to see something happen, you may have somebody over here that's trying to, like I said, light that, turn on that in this instance, turn on the not the beacon, but the radio transmitter, so you can communicate back to the main thing to have them prepped. And that could be an isolated incident, like it could be like in Dark Age of Man, where I'm going out to release the boats, the Viking boats that are part of the thing, and you can say, overall, this is happening. Did my character succeed or fail in that aspect, or either light the torch to bring in the other army know?
Yeah.
So there may be macro or micro areas that you want to focus in on to say within the larger picture. It's
of
just
course,
like a movie.
yeah. I mean, that's why we said Dark Age of Man is the idea of don't split the party has nothing to do with Dark Age of Man.
Exactly.
There is no party. Your character is doing your thing. Now that doesn't mean you all can't come together to be working the same. Against the same madness, or that you're working literally together as you take an idol to the North Church, or whatever the case may be. It's an infinite narrative style or an infinite kind of game that can be done. It doesn't have to just be organize an expedition, go into the dungeon, or it doesn't have to be, hey, we're superheroes fighting crime, or hey, we're right, we're all going to infiltrate the Death Star and blow it up. It doesn't all have to be that kind of party play, right? But again, we're also talking about big picture stuff versus in the pocket stuff, right? Big picture stuff. Hey, we're organizing an expedition to go to the Russian base and to do what we can. We have to analyze what's wrong, get power going, and then see if there's people we can save, rescue, or fix. Meanwhile, we're also learning new information as we do that. And it came to me at one point, we're not going to be able to. We can't stay here. We gotta now change plans, get out of here. Some dice rolls are made to see, whether I can convey that or whether we actually execute that, etc. So as we talked before over the last couple of days, the dice rolls aren't going to be menial tasks. They're going to be narrative prompts to change the situation or the narrative, not to just get the car started. Right, so if I say, you're piloting, you're the pilot, and I tell you that you've hit an electrical storm and you're trying to land this aircraft or this spacecraft, and I say, roll the dice for a piloting check. If you succeed that roll, right, you successfully land. But let's say you fail that roll, I might say you all wake up, and in a crashed ship, it's on fire, it's burning, and you all wake up. Some of you are injured, some of you aren't. We literally just go right to the disaster that is you're failing to pilot the ship to a successful landing. Right?
It's like navigating to important highlighted.
Yeah. It's triggering the very next situational, right? So it can be, okay, this is what I roll the dice to set up and organize the rescue of these people. You get new information, a new pulse starts. You can convey that information. As we learn what this pulse looks like, what it does is I go to a scientist and say, what the hell are we dealing with here? And the guy pulls it up so you can convey that information. Then we make a roll, as I say, change of plans. We make a roll to see if those plans happen properly or those plans fail. Now, the failure could be, sorry, those people in the other component all died, right? But at least you guys got out. Or it could be something as simple as, yes, you're getting some of those people out, partial success, total success. right? You're able to organize these people and get out 12 of them, whatever the case may be. It's all going to trigger the next moment of what we're doing, not the minutia of, literally doing every little minutia detail of building a apparatus to to seal off the compartment from.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think to me, like story, the moments, and granted they have to be like moments of the minutia of interaction between either NPCs or characters, to where like in the moment to where you and you know what I mean, or you broke up, but in the moment between you and Simmons, whenever there was a little bit of thing that to me was interesting because it was as per character how you may get along with your cohorts or whatever, whether there's aggression with you with the doctor in there. So I never know where they're leading. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just know what the prompts will pull up something, and to me, it could be immediately like a dangerous situation, right? Now, your involvement in a dangerous situation, navigate successful roles, and come out more so unscathed, but it also be to your detriment.